Start off with Tennessee. We worked on Tennessee a little bit last week as well as some of our future opponents, but primarily on Tennessee on Thursday. I think Jeremy's doing a great job with the situation he's in. I certainly know this. They play hard. They play physical. You can turn the tape on in the third and fourth quarter and watch how their kids compete, and they play the game the right way. You look at last year's game with us. They fought extremely hard, made it a game, there in the second half. And the games they've been in this year, they've just had a lot of turnovers, and their defense has actually forced a lot of turnovers. They've just turned the ball over quite a bit, and it's hurt them some in some games. But got a good football team, got a lot of players that we recruited, and got a lot of respect for the coaching staff. I think they do a great job, and they're kicking butt in special teams, which will be an extra challenge for us because we didn't fare as well last time out in special teams. So this will be a tough ball game at night at their place, and our guys got to get ready to play.
Kirby, I know results from 20 years ago has no effect on Saturday, but are you ever motivated by your time here as a player against Tennessee and how much success Tennessee had? I know Steve Spurrier always talks about the 66 loss to Georgia and how it gnaws at him. I just didn't know if that motivates you, or do you ever have teammates of yours saying, you got to take care of these guys because what they did to us back in the day?
Not really. I mean, I don't think about the games when I play. These kids don't think about that. It has no impact whatsoever on this game. They don't, most of them weren't born when that was going on. So I don't think it has much impact on it. I think it's a rivalry game, and I think that when you're going to play a team that's a rivalry game for you and also somebody you recruit against, and they come in our state to recruit a lot, we recruit a lot in their state, it's an important ball game. But that's more to do with the here and now than the past.
Hey, Coach, Cade Mays seems to play with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder no matter who he's playing. Are you going to talk to him at all about sort of his homecoming back to Knoxville and maybe control some of those emotions if needed?
Well, he had that last year, I mean, I know it wasn't there, but it was the same emotions, I think, that he played with. Obviously, when your father plays for that school and you grow up in that town, there's a lot of emotions there. But Cade's played in a lot of big games. Cade's played a lot of snaps, a lot of positions. I think Cade understands that he can't let the emotion get the best of him. He knows a lot of these guys on their team, and kind of was around a lot of them. But Cade's got good control. He's got good self-control, and he understands what he can and can't do, and he'll play hard just like they'll play hard against him.
Kirby, you knew that you all would go up against Chaney and that offense, once a year when he took that job. What do you think the dynamic will be in terms of how well you guys know each other through practices and all that?
I think there's a lot more to it in you guys' stories than there is in real life. It's going to boil down to which guy blocks properly, which guy covers properly. There's no, secrets. I mean, we know what they do. They know what we do, but that's the case every week. That's what the tape's for. So there's a lot of familiarity there, and at the end of the day, the players got to go out and execute. They've got to play with a passion and energy, enthusiasm to beat the guy across from them and not make it about what our defensive coordinator calls or what their offensive coordinator calls. I just don't think that matters a whole lot. I think at the end of the day, it's blocking, tackling, turnovers, explosive plays, executing, and doing it with a lot of passion.
Kirby, you've seen enough of Maurer at quarterback in the Florida game to know what's different about him compared to Garantano?
No, I don't know that I've seen enough. Obviously, he's a really good athlete, but so is Jared. I mean, they both can run the ball and both do things with that package. I thought he came in and did a good job. First series he was in there, he did a nice job moving the ball down the field, and he is a good athlete. We know him from high school and have seen him play. Yeah, help me out specifically.
Corners,
Stokes, we think, is going to be able to practice today. Again, he did not practice on Thursday. He conditioned and ran and moved around, but he wasn't able to practice today. He's supposed to be able to go full go in practice. Tyson is still limited a little bit. Hoping to get him back before the end of the week. recovering quickly. Really nobody on the defensive line. Offensive line? Yeah, offensive line. Solomon, we expect to be able to go out today and do some work. We think he's going to be cleared to play, but we just don't know if he's going to be able to or not. It's going to depend on how many reps he can get today and tomorrow. Kieris is cleared to play. He's going to be able to play. We think he's going to be able to go out and do a good job for us. He practiced last week. I mean, like I said, he's been practicing all along. It's never gone away with his situation. He's just going to have a different brace on, different splint on, but we think he's going to be good to go.
Jake has obviously set some high standards here, but can you talk about his start, completing almost 76% and ranking pretty high in the nation in passing efficiency?
Yeah, Jake does a great job leading our team, our offense. He understands the game of football really well. He handles protections. He handles a lot of what the defense does and gives to us and takes from us, and he does a nice job of managing that. Put a lot on his shoulders, and especially when he goes on the road, he has to do a good job understanding there's more to it than just the right play. Sometimes it's the tempo or it's the shot clock that he's got to deal with of getting a call and getting us lined up. But, I mean, he's picked up where he's left off. He's very highly efficient. He makes good decisions with the ball. He protects the ball, and he puts us in the right play a lot.
Following up on Jake, from sort of the end of last year, is there anything that you've seen out of him that's different or maybe he's improved on over the course of the offseason, those first 4 games?
Yeah, his leadership's the biggest difference. I mean, he's kind of always been a leader, but he's taken that more, I guess it's more tangible to me. I can see him affecting other people. I can see him going and talking and communicating to young wideouts, helping to get guys lined up, challenging guys to play with more energy and effort and toughness, and he's not afraid to confront and demand. Not that he ever was, but he's doing it more often now.
Going back to 2017 and the last time that y'all were up in Knoxville, that shutout win. I mean, is that kind of another game where you would put on the path of the program's rise and everything, or not really?
I think they were in such a different state and time at that time. You know, their program was in a different direction than it really is now, and I don't look at that game as any kind of indication of where we've gone. Jake played well in a tough environment, but we had a different football team. You know, we had a very experienced defensive football team, and we had some really good players on offense at the skill positions. So I think that game obviously it has nothing to do with this game. They're playing with a high motor and a chip on their shoulder, and they're playing extremely hard, and we know we're going to get their best shot, and our job is to make sure they get our best shot.
How much do other teams around the country and trends affect some of your philosophies? Obviously, there's been a lot made out of some of these more high-scoring games versus maybe more conservative theories in football and how college football playoff committee views teams in terms of preferring the offensive teams.
I don't really know what you're asking, to be honest. I mean, the other games don't affect us at all. I mean, I don't think they affect us at all. I think that it's not my job to rate what other teams do or how many points they score or how many points they give up. Our job is to go play the best football game that our kids can play, and that's what we try to do each week with the ultimate goal of winning the game in mind, and we go play at the highest level we can. And if we're not doing that, we try to figure out which ways we can do to do it better. But that's all we do.
Kirby, now that you've had a few games, had some guys banged up on offensive line, how pleased have you been with the depth there and the ability to kind of shuffle guys in and out and still play at a high level?
Yeah, we're thankful that we have depth because, like last year, the depth played a major role in our season because we missed some guys last year, similar injuries this year we've had. Several guys go in and out of the lineup. I think that's one of the defensive and offensive lines are the spots that you have the highest risk of losing a guy because of what goes on in there in the trenches, and it's tougher in there. So we've been fortunate that none of the injuries have been significant, but I think everybody's got the same problem. So you're always shuffling O linemen to put them in the right spot. Same thing with D linemen to find spot to get some depth and be able to play guys. And we've been fortunate to play a lot of guys up front. But we're getting ready to go on a stretch now where it's going to have to be for a long time.
How was the transition been for a guy like Eli Wolf from Tennessee to Georgia?
It seems to be smooth. I mean, there's a lot of similarities into the way we do things here and the way they do things there, at least from his perspective. So it's not like something brand new for him. There's a lot of carryover. Offensively, different words and some different things. He's in his, I don't know what number offense in the last 4 years, but he's in a different offense again, which he went through there and he went through coming here. So the transition's been smooth for him because he's bright, he picks things up, he's smart. But he works hard at it, and he's got a lot of pride in knowing what to do. And that part he spent extra time on so that he could have an effective senior year.
How do you view Jordan Davis's role in controlling the opponent's run game, and how is he in terms of his stamina from where you guys want him to be?
I think he's always working on his stamina. It's important that he understands that he has to be able to sustain and play for long periods of time. We're not going to ask him to play every play on defense. We ask him to play for his kind of stretch. He does a good job with that. He's got to continue to improve on it. He's got to monitor his weight at all times because it can get out of sorts on him in a hurry, and he has to stay on top of that. But when he plays with good pad level and he plays with good strike and strain, he's really hard to block. But he has to be able to do that, and ultimately our ability to stop the run is factored by a lot of other things outside of him because he's one guy that's in one gap compared to the 11, 12 gaps out there. There's a lot of space that people can run the ball outside of him. But when he plays hard and he plays with low pad level, he's hard to block.
What kind of challenge does Jawan Jennings, a veteran receiver, pose against an injured secondary?
Well, he's one of the most physical players, competitive toughness that I've ever seen. I mean, he repeatedly blocks people. He plays physical at the point of attack. He goes up and attacks the ball. He's always had really good ball skills, and after he catches it is when he sometimes becomes the most dangerous because he's really hard to get on the ground. He's physical. So he does a good job. They do a really good job of moving him around and using his skill set, and he's one of the better receivers we'll face this year. And just when you get in the SEC, it's week in, week out. There's going to be a really good wideout on the other team, and he's one of them.
Jeremy said last week that he thinks his team is 100 times better than it was a year ago, just saying that turnovers and their inability on fourth down so far has cost them a lot of possessions. When you study them on tape, where have you seen this Tennessee team improve compared to a year ago?
Their depth, their physicality. They were thinner at some positions last year. They've got more guys. They're rolling and playing more guys. They're playing really hard, and they play really physical. You look at the games they've played this year, they've had some self-inflicted wounds. Otherwise, they're winning or in those games. And the way they're coaching and the way they're demanding, they've got a good staff. They're going to push these kids, and they're getting them better. They've had a whole week to get better and improve. And I think it shows on tape when you watch them how hard they play, that they're on the brink of something special. And you can tell these guys are playing hard. And they're playing with a lot of young guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that were recruited last year in a lot of situations.
How much different stuff does this outside linebacker have to do in your own system? I mean, sometimes they're down, sometimes they're up, run, pass, and how is Aziz on the field a lot because he does a lot of that well, and you feel confident about him on a lot of downs?
Yeah, he's on the field a lot because we feel like he's our best either-or player. He can stand up, he can rush, he communicates well, he plays really physical, he strains, rushes the passer. So when you start talking about the attributes of an outside backer, first down is very different than third down. And you want somebody that can do it all, but there's guys that have roles on our team that are specialized to be better on this situation, and other guys that are specialized to be better at run situation, but yet he does both pretty well. It allows him to play a significant amount. He still rolls, but he plays more than those other guys because he knows what to do. He practices really hard. He's very productive. And, we need those other guys to step up and play to the same level he is. Nolan does that, providing kind of a spark. Jermaine's starting to do that a little more. Walter's done that. And even Beal is starting to do it more and more. So the more guys we can get that can play that winning football, it really helps us.
So in terms of Dominic Blaylock, whether it be on offense or punt return, how has he been able to serve as a spark up these last few weeks? And what are some areas of improvement that you're looking at?
That he can improve in? Well, Dom's a really hard worker. First of all, he's put himself in a situation to be successful because of how hard he works. I mean, he goes out to practice every day, and his level of practice standard is the same as his game standard. I mean, he plays so hard in practice. He does everything you ask. He's a very assignment-oriented guy. He has a knack for getting open. He understands coverages and route structure. He understands our offense. So he can play multiple positions. He can go outside and play. He can play inside. And he does a really nice job of doing that. And he's even become better as a blocker and more physical as he's in the weight room and continuing to lift. So I love the way he works, never complains. He just goes out there and puts his best forward each and every day. And we need him to continue doing that because it's a position that we've been light at, and he's a position guy that can help us at the wide receiver spot.
With Dominic, it seems like you're sort of praising his mental approach and how he sort of approaches the game. How obvious was that sort of in the recruiting process when you were recruiting him early on, and sort of him showing that this is a guy who takes sort of all aspects of the game seriously and doesn't just turn it on Fridays or Saturdays?
Well, I don't know that we knew it in recruiting because we had him in camp. He came in and competed and worked really hard in camp. So he'd done it on Friday nights. I mean, he went on some of the biggest stages there were on Friday night and played against the best teams in the state, and he performed well. He was usually the best player on the field, and they used him very well. They put him at Wildcat quarterback. He returned kicks. He got the ball in the slot. I mean, you knew he was a playmaker by the way his coaches used him, and he took on all those roles in high school, so you felt like he would be able to do the same thing in college. I mean, he went to an all-star game, scored 2 touchdowns. I mean, anywhere he's gone, he's been one of the most competitive people on the field, and he's continued that trend at our place by outworking people and just busting his tail.
Coach, any players stand out during the bye week or make move anybody might see more time moving forward?
There's so many guys out there working. I'd hate to single anybody out. I mean, there's nobody that just leaked up the depth chart, if that's what you're asking. I just think there's, there were some guys that were dinged up and banged up that didn't get as many reps. And there were a lot of guys in the 2s and 3s categories that got a lot more reps because we wanted them to get some quality work or try to develop and play. There's some positions that we're not as deep at that sometimes the ones are the guys that need the reps because they don't have a lot. And then sometimes the ones that played and started for 3 years, and we're trying to develop another guy to be a backup, so we put him in there with the ones. But there's nobody that just jumps off at me that I thought just, it's going to be out there starting this week that wasn't last week.
2 more questions.
I know that Kobe Dean has been playing, but is he 100% yet since that injury he had at the beginning of the year?
Kobe, yeah, he's playing at 100%. I feel like he is. I mean, he's out there playing situational football. He plays in the first, second down rotation. He's done a good job. I do think that the setback held him back some from being able to play every snap and also from getting reps. There was a brief time in there that he couldn't get as many reps, and it probably hurt him from a mental standpoint. But he's picked that back up, and he's working really hard and pleased with what he's doing. Just continue to get better.
He's always flashed. It seems like a linebacker. It seems like he's flashing more. Is he making a step this season as a senior to where all conference type of material, NFL type of prospect?
Well, that's probably not for me to judge whether he's all coming. I can't compare him to other guys because I'm not watching all the other guys in the league. Tay is taking ownership in his job, and he's become much better at being able to adapt and change to what happens within a game, within a play. Something checks, something changes. So many formations you get from offenses nowadays, and so much complicated scheme stuff that he's able to help get us right, besides Monty being the only guy that can do that. So he has grown at that. I think the fact that he's gotten better at that, it allows him to make some plays. But to all those questions about, I don't know. I don't think he would be concerned with all those things right now. He's trying to play his best football for his teammates so that we can be successful on defense.